Hello and welcome to the Money Marketing Podcast. I'm Kimberly Dondo, Digital Content Manager, and in this week's Weekend Essay Podcast, we have reporter Jean-Baptiste Andrieux revealing the scourge of investigating romance scams. So be careful out there. Take it away, JB.
Among the numerous press releases and studies I receive every day, one particularly caught my attention in recent times. A study by socialcatfish.com shows that 104 million euros was lost to romance scams in the United Kingdom over the last 13 months. This is up from 68 million in 2020. I do not see any reason to use it directly, as it does not, I suppose, have any relevance for financial advisors. Having said that, I'm not a financial advisor myself. I've never sat in front of a client, which means I have no idea of what they are capable of. But I tend to believe that an advised client is less likely to fall for that kind of trick. I still remember an advisor telling me how one of his clients was once contacted by introducers of London Capital and Finance. The client had the good idea of forwarding the introducer's email to his advisor, who warned the client about the dangers around this investment proposition. Having an advisor is not bulletproof, but it certainly limits the odds of doing anything utterly stupid with your money. The reason why I found those figures interesting is because romance scams is a topic I'm somewhat familiar with. No, I have not scammed anyone, and I've not been scammed either, if that is what you are now wondering. I'm not really stingy, which I guess makes me fully impermeable to romance scams. Last autumn, I actually gave dating apps a try without much enthusiasm. After a few dates which turned out to be a frightful waste of my valuable time, I chose to put an end to the experience. But there was one last thing I wanted to do before deleting the app from my phone. I noticed that some profiles looked very suspect, to say the least. The people, or rather the impersonations, were just too perfect to be on a dating app. They were incredibly attractive. I suppose they used photos of actual models or celebrities I do not know. They also pretended to have studied in the most prestigious American or British universities, and to be either an entrepreneur or CEO. Let's be honest, if you're winning so much at life, what are you doing on a dating app meant for the pleb? As I've never liked living empty-handed, and also because I do not have much to do in my free time, I decided to put my journalist hat on and investigate how romance scammers operate. The first step was to create a fake profile to conceal my identity. I then started tracking and liking those dodgy profiles. Unsurprisingly, it was very easy and quick to get matches with them. So easy that it would be enough to put anyone on alert in an ideal world. Socialcatfish.com listed 5 signs that you're being catfished. One of them is the eagerness to move the conversation off the dating app and onto WhatsApp. For obvious safety reasons, it was without a question. It would have been very easy to track me. Also, I'm not particularly tech-savvy, but I'm quite sure there's an awful lot of ill-intentioned things you can do only with a phone number. Pretending not to have WhatsApp has, however, not been detrimental to my experiment. Their goal is ultimately to steal your money. Where and how do not matter so much. Socialcatfish.com also highlighted that romance scammers tend to have poor grammar. It somehow contradicts the claims on scammers' profiles that they've studied in the most prestigious universities in the world. This is a pattern I noticed right away. In fact, English is in all likelihood not their native language, and all that high they're operating from abroad. There is no way your command of the language can be that poor if you're living in an English-speaking country. Another thing I've noticed, which tends to indicate that the scammers operate from outside of the UK, is their total ignorance of the local geography. While claiming to live in London, one of the scammers I chatted with told me that they had spent the weekend at the seaside in Tower Hamlets. I'm aware that the sea level is rising, but as far as I know, we're not discussing projects to turn East London into the new Brighton yet. Another sign listed by socialcatfish.com is an unwillingness to meet you in person or video chat. I did not try to suggest a video chat. Not only had I to hide my identity, but I also strongly dislike being taken in photo, filmed, or seen on camera. However, I did propose in-person meetings to see what kind of excuse scammers would come up with. Going to the beach in Tower Hamlets was one, but it could also be more realistic subterfuges, such as helping a family member. I must say, those scammers were not particularly clever. As they claimed to be based in London, I asked them sometime what the weather was like. A simple check of the forecast on Google would have given them a good chance to answer correctly. It did not occur to them that I was in London and could verify their answer. Claimed to be in love with you quickly while having never met, you was also listed by socialcatfish.com. I can confirm that, and it can be as quick as a few hours. The method probably works at times, otherwise scammers would not systematically use it. After all, there is a lot of loneliness in this world. Think about it. Former Prime Minister Theresa May created a role of Minister of Loneliness back in 2018. I suppose when you are desperate, you lose your sense of realism and cling to any glimpse of hope. Socialcatfish.com also put begging asking for money in its list. While I've not been asked for money, the scammers I encountered tried to convince me to invest via a range of shady investment platforms. This was a point where I would take a French leave, or runaway English tide, I would say in France. Interestingly, every scammer I spoke to referred to a different platform. I took the time to research information about these platforms, and surprisingly, none of them was authorized in the UK, and they were all domiciled in parts of the world renowned for their lenient financial oversight. While there is no obvious connection between the investment platform and the scammer, I've been unable to identify the nature of it. Are both the scammers and the platforms part of an organization? Are the scammers lone wolves, earning a commission each time they successfully nudge someone into investing money on those platforms? I do wonder. A conclusion I had immediately upon stopping this experiment is that these methods completely escape the scope of the online safety bill. To be fair, I do not see any way of how this scourge could be tackled without infringing and intruding on people's private lives, which is not desirable in my opinion. Could it be that online scammers found a flawless tactic? I personally do not see any sensible solution, but the good news is that it's not my responsibility to solve this problem.
Thank you, JB, for a very interesting weekend essay podcast. We do hope that you enjoyed it. Please do keep up to date with all our new releases via Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcasts from. You can also keep up to date with all our new content published on the Money Marketing website, as well as our print edition, Money Marketing Magazine. So make sure that you subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. See you next time.